Welcome to the Boat Galley Podcast. I'm Carolyn Sherlock, here with tips, reviews, and how-tos for your cruising adventure. The Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Boat Affair. Make 2018 a year filled with extraordinary experiences on the water. Boat Affair, a boutique boat and experience sharing company, invites you on a one-of-a-kind adventure. Visit boataffair.com today. Make sure to mention Boat Galley 18 to get a 5% exclusive discount. Slow down, slow down. Planning your first overnight passage? Wondering what it'll really be like and how you'll sleep? There are no universal answers, but I can pass on some tips from our passages. And interestingly, we find that the keys to sleep don't begin when we lay our head on the pillow, but well before. First is knowing that the boat is ready. Don't just assume that the boat is ready, but check all the major systems prior to the trip. Every boat will have its own list, but common items include the following. Make sure that the bilge pumps work and the strainers are free of debris and of hair. That's the big culprit on most boats. Test your EPIRB. Check the contents of your ditch bag. Make sure the life raft and ditch bag are accessible. Check the oil in the engine and the transmission fluid. Start up the motor. Make sure that the cooling water is circulating and the engine is not overheating. The raw water intake can get blocked by bottom growth or debris sucked in. Clean the bottom of your boat. Have your jack lines in place. Create routes for the chart plotter and backup systems. Create alternate routes for bailout places and research emergency stops. Water your batteries if you're using lead-acid batteries. Turn on the radar and make sure it's working. You don't want to discover that there's a problem just as you need it. Having confidence in the boat relieves a lot of stress, often stress that you don't even realize is there. And stress takes away from the enjoyment of the passage as well as interfering with sleep. Next is confidence in the other watch standards. Not everyone will be equally skilled or knowledgeable, and that's okay. We all had to start somewhere. But everyone has to have basic skills and the ability to do basic boat operations, as well as know when to call others on board for assistance. The basic skills can't just be learned in an hour the day before a trip, and they can't be learned just by reading. Day trips leading up to the overnight passage have to be used as training and practice sessions until everyone who will be taking a watch is comfortable with basic boat operations and also knowing when to ask for help. We also have a set of standard operating procedures that we both agree to. We put in an extra reef before dark. We always wear our tethers. We never go on deck without the other person in the cockpit. And we never hesitate to wake up the other one if there is the slightest question about anything. One other rule that Dave abides by, at the risk of too much information, no peeing overboard while alone on deck. Seriously, this is one of the biggest causes of men going overboard when the boat hits a wave wrong. Assuming that there is more than one of you, being comfortable with what the other person is doing is huge for being able to sleep. It's funny, but knowing that Dave won't hesitate to wake me, and vice versa, lets me sleep much better as I don't feel like I have to keep one ear open for signs of a problem. Start your trip well rested. It's easy to get caught up in last-minute preparations or worry about whether you're really ready and not sleep well the night before a passage. But starting out sleep-deprived puts you in the hole to start with. We learned to try to have all the big jobs done before the last day, so it's just things like taking trash ashore, stowing the dinghy for passage, and topping up water on the last day. I'll also usually do some food prep, but we try to have everything done by late afternoon, then a nice dinner, and just relaxing in the evening. Next is keeping food simple. My first couple of overnight passages, I seriously overcomplicated our meals. I planned 3 large meals, including a special dinner, to commemorate our first night out. With no real idea of what even benign offshore conditions would be like, I had no idea what would be appropriate. Planning to spend 3 hours cooking a single meal was just plain stupid and exhausting. Now we've discovered that we eat more snacks. Healthy snacks, that is, not junk food, than real meals. Trail mix, single servings of fruit, yogurt, that kind of stuff. Once a day, if conditions aren't bad, we have a meal together, but we keep it simple. If it's hot out, maybe a cold salad. If it's cool, a pre-cooked dish that I warm up. As you get more experience with Passages, you may decide to carry ingredients for more elaborate meals and use them if conditions allow. But for the first few trips, when you're figuring things out, keep it simple so that meal prep doesn't interfere with sleep time. Next, quiet the boat. As you're on watch, be aware of any little noises, such as clanking glasses or rattling pans that could bother the sleeping person, and, quietly, do what you can to stop them. Generally, stuffing rags into lockers is a quick fix. Change the settings, if necessary, on electronics so they don't beep when buttons are pressed. Sometimes, too, just a 5-degree course change can have a profound effect on the motion of the boat, so that it's easier for the off-watch to sleep. Then there's the watch schedule itself. You know your own body, how much sleep you need, and how long you can be alert on watch. Many couples opt for either 3 or 4-hour watches in typical conditions. Dave and I discovered that we do far better with roughly 6-hour watches, as we prefer more sleep in one stretch. That said, we're somewhat flexible in the watches. If the off-watch is sleeping soundly and the person on watch is still feeling good, we may go a little long. If the off-watch wakes early and there aren't any jobs that need to be done, we may swap early. And if the conditions are challenging, not just weather, but the amount of traffic or anything else, we may shorten our watches. If we have an all-hands-on-deck situation, that's generally a squall, we'll rearrange the watch schedule when it's over. We find that with just 2 of us, flexibility is key. Our time on watch equals out, but generally doesn't go exactly by the clock. While we think of the person on watch as the one with responsibilities, the off-watch person has one very important duty: to get sufficient rest that they are alert and ready to go when it's time for their watch. Even if you don't think you can fall asleep, lie down and rest. We also plan for drowsiness. Rather than assuming that the person on watch won't get drowsy at 3 a.m., plan on it. We each have a timer on our watch, but you can use any sort of a timer, although it's best if it automatically repeats. And we set that timer to 10 minutes. That way, if we do doze off, the alarm will wake us and prompt us to look around. Every time it goes off, day or night, it's the signal to stand up and do a full 360-degree scan of the horizon. You don't want to set up for much longer than 10 minutes due to the speed with which cargo ships move. It's also a good idea to use radar and AIS alarms if so equipped, but neither one is a substitute for slowly scanning the horizon every 10 minutes. Sleep deprivation is a serious problem. Exhaustion leads to bad decisions, and bad decisions lead to injuries and boat damage. What should be minor problems become cascading disasters. Charts are impossible to decipher. After a few days, hallucinations can start. Others have written about hearing voices or seeing people. One of our hard and fast rules is that we don't enter unfamiliar harbors after dark, no matter how tired we are. We know that at the end of a trip, we're tired and probably not thinking and reacting as well as we should. It's easy to run aground, get confused as to where we need to go, or just not see traffic in a busy harbor. So we slow down to arrive after sunrise, heave to, or just circle outside a channel. Not fun, and it adds more hours to the trip, but we think it's safer to approach during daylight when we're tired. I certainly don't have all the answers, and while I've done numerous 2 to 4 day passages, I haven't done any longer than that. And only 2 of mine have included sustained winds over 30 knots. We've been tired when we hit land, but never totally exhausted, and we've always arrived safely. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, Please be sure to subscribe in your podcast app. Just search for the Boat Galley Podcast. And reviews are always appreciated. Until next time, then.
Slow down, slow down.